If any of you have lost your nerve, then step away now, and let no one judge you. Very well. Then sail safe and strong, and may the Sapphire Star light your way.
The world of Monster Hunter had always been one of those things I stayed away from, thinking that it wasn't for me and that I didn't want to put in hundreds of hours to make any meaningful progress. In fact, one dear friend lost his entire engineering degree due to video game addiction, so I was always very reluctant to jump into games with a reputation of sinking its hooks on you for good. When Monster Hunter came out on PS4, it flew under my radar because I mainly gamed on PC and there was an announcement for later that year. Circa August 2018, it comes out on PC and it blows up. Everyone is suddenly talking about it, and ACG's review on the game shows amazing footage of huge monsters being bonked on with a hammer that seems way too large to be wielded by anyone. And then I saw the Great Sword. I knew immediately that was my weapon. I had no information on how it worked or if it was any good, but I knew that's what I wanted to use. So a few weeks after release, I jump into the game, propelled by the prospect of jolly cooperation with my friends and taking down beasts together. I think it was at this point when I was disappointed the most by the game. For all quests, you need to have seen the cinematic for it, and in practice you spend way more time in menus and waiting around than actually hunting anything together. To add on to that, there are endless quests of gathering footprints and other random bollocks that plague the early stages of the game. Because it seemed unproductive to try co-op, given there was so much waiting for others between hunts, I started playing solo a bit more. I decided I wanted to figure out how my weapon actually worked, and no, I hadn't figured it out even after 20 hours of game time. I decided to look up some guides and try out some of the moves. However, none of the guides actually explained how to create the massive openings required for the Great Sword combos. Especially when dealing with annoying flying enemies, I was totally at a loss as to how to even get more than one strike in. I found the in-game tutorials utterly useless, like someone trying to communicate with me in actual Japanese, which, for all intents and purposes, they might as well have. There is so much nuance, so many mechanics, and so many items that go into directing a hunt the way you want, that it was hopeless for me to try to pick it up without any experienced players taking me under their wing. At the very least, I learned all the moves well and how to cancel attacks and combos using the tackle in cases where the opening doesn't allow for a full combo. I actually did a quote-unquote guide video discussing the Greatsword moves because at that point I felt like I had mastered it. To say I was naive and wrong would be the biggest understatement yet in this piece. I may have known the moves, but I did not even start to grasp at the depth of using tackles for disjointing attacks, blocking, and how to create the openings I so desperately needed. I'm ashamed to say I was not able to get significantly better by myself. Most systems still being inscrutable to me, I trudged my way through the base game campaign, and even after beating it, I didn't have the feeling of ever being in control. At this point, I took several months away from the game, discouraged and convinced that I was never gonna pick it up again. Fast forward to 2020, Iceborne had been around for a while and several members of my community were huge fans of the game, so I did a few casual streams where we jumped in together. By the way, I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on Twitch, there's a link down below. And then something clicked. I saw people who were actually good at the game be able to direct fights and control the flow instead of being like a log in a river bound to follow the whims of the game. This was the proof I needed that there was a way to be in control and actually feel like a hunter and not just someone being mauled by a dinosaur. One of my friends, who I now refer to as Sensei, taught me the ways of the clutch claw and how to topple monsters and create massive openings for my combos and finally do some damage. Over the next 2 months, I went from 80 hours of game time to almost 300 and learned more than I ever had by myself. This experience really revealed to me that the true Monster Hunter experience was not just about self-improvement, but also humility and learning from others. I only evolved into a good hunter once I put aside my ego. Little by little, I integrated elements of others' playstyles into my own and eventually found my own flow. Ultimately, I was playing catch up with others that had been at it for way longer than I had, and that was frustrating at times. But eventually I downed every monster and the final credits for Iceborne rolled, along with a small manly tear. That single small tear encapsulated all of my feelings of frustration and overcoming. However, this actually marked only the beginning of my most exciting journey into the endgame content. Along with friends, we downed countless tempered monsters, honing our weapons and armor in the Guiding Lands. We made glorious exploding swords from Raging Braki. We dunked Furious Rajang's ass into submission. We tasted the sweet golden loot from Kulve and crafted her homoerotic chest piece. We downed the beautiful Safi and farmed her for godlike weapons and armor, and yes, we claimed Elatrion's horns too. Sitting at around MR 200, I feel fulfilled and accomplished, but also I cherish all the faithful companions that I met along the way. After all, the strongest bonds are forged in the fires of battle and prancing. And now the fires roar once again. I hear a distant rumble in Castle Shrade, where Fatalis the Black Dragon has claimed the premises as its roost. A wicked smile on my face, I sharpen my sword one last time. I set out for the hunt one last time. Farewell, hunters.